Right, so today I want to make a video about this tweet. Now, first, this is relevant for a few reasons. Number one, you had the NBC Brian Williams thing. You always have the left talking about how they could pay for all their socialist redistributionist systems by just taxing the rich. So this is a pretty common thing. So I wanted to make a video about it, kind of debunking it, kind of setting the record straight. And I seen this tweet from Mike Cernovich, and it was very telling. So I thought to make a video about it. Anyway, he says if Jeff Bezos sold all of his Amazon stock, bringing the share price to single digits, he could give every American a one-time payment of $100. Today, Bezos shares his wealth with over 750,000 people and an average salary of $60,000, and who share their wealth with others. Not only that, there's the amount of people that benefit by, rather than having to drive to a store and waste gas money, waste your time. All these lefties out there that care so much about climate change. You don't have to go waste gas and put CO2 into the atmosphere. Buying whatever you need to buy, you can just order it on Amazon. It'll show up at your door or in your mailbox in a day, two or three, or however long it's going to take. Um, so that's very innovative, and it's very convenient in that you can save time on certain shopping things. I mean, you can find good deals, all this kind of stuff, and that's not really what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is that, firstly, the left has this idea that they can pay for all their, in Bernie Sanders, you could pay for his free health care, his free college, um, all this kind of stuff simply by just tax the rich, just tax the rich, and what they're completely wrong about and why it makes zero sense is that they want to effectively tax billionaires out of existence. Number one, the problem with that is that in fact, I would say all billionaires, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But like, take Jeff Bezos, for example. He only makes about $1 million a year, and now I say only compared to the average person, that's an insane amount of money. But compared to what you think he'd be making, he only makes about $1 million a year in salary. So Jeff Bezos doesn't actually have that much money. I mean, his net worth, if you got rid of his share in Amazon stock, would be in the millions, like maybe in the tens of millions, but it wouldn't be that high. Like, Jeff Bezos would be just another, multimillionaire in Silicon Valley, or wherever he lives. I don't know if he lives there, but um, yeah. So that's the problem with this tax the rich mentality. I mean, that's one of the many problems, I guess. The first one being is that most of these people, I would say almost all of them, don't actually have that much money in liquid assets. Like, I mean, I know, like him or hate him, Donald Trump. He's a billionaire not because he has $1 billion in his bank account or in a bank account anywhere. It's because he owns so much property. Look at all the Trump towers he has. He has the resort in Florida, all these kind of things. Like, rich people, like I always say this too, it's a sign of someone who will never be rich and someone who's always going to be a paycheck to paycheck or very close to it kind of person, of the kind of people that think that you get rich by working a day job and letting your bank account pile up, or if you're like a CEO or something, you just work your day job and you let your bank account just continue to go up and up and up. No, that's not how people get rich. Um, Two-thirds of millionaires become millionaires through some form of compound interest, and I would say billionaires, it's probably even more. Um, in other words, they either invest their money or they own property, and the property appreciates in value. So this idea, like I say, it's just a sign of just sheer stupidity. Now, part of it is the school systems are just so terrible at it. I'm not saying that someone who actually thinks this, every one of them is stupid. That's not what I'm saying. Some of them are, but a lot of them, it's just school systems have done such a brutal job of teaching them that's where they're at. That they actually think this kind of stuff. But like I say, two-thirds of millionaires become millionaires by some form of compound interest. And the other thing I would add is that I don't remember the exact number, but I believe it was a small minority, like 30-40% of them never have ever earned more than six figures in their lifetime. In other words, they've never earned more than $100,000, which means they're everyday people. They're not people think that, oh, they're just doctors and lawyers that are making two, three, four, $500,000 a year. No, these are people that have smartly saved their money, for their whole life too, because you don't get $1 million in investments and property and stuff like that by, wait until you're 40, 50 years old to do it. They probably started in their 20s. And that's what you have to do to become rich. And I would say having a net worth of $1 million, you're not rich. Someone who owns like a 1,000 square foot house in Toronto or Vancouver is probably close to a millionaire, if not a millionaire. But anyway, that's besides the point. Um, that's kind of what I wanted to bring up. The other thing to bring up too is people have, like I say, people on the left, they have this idea that, oh, if you just tax the rich. And the other aspect of it too is that, let's just say for sake of argument, I mean, I think it's beyond obvious it wouldn't work, but let's just say for sake of argument you do it. It would pay for your socialist stuff in the here and now. But the problem is that anybody who's close to becoming a billionaire, or whatever, wherever you set the bar, they're going to be a lot less likely to want to earn more money if you're just going to take it from them. Like, why would you earn more money if you're just going to take it from them? It makes no sense. You would figure out any way you possibly could to avoid the tax. So the tax wouldn't work long term, because to have this tax that's going to be paid for by billionaires, there has to be just as much of an incentive for billionaires to become billionaires. Because when you tax the ones that are currently billionaires out of existence, there needs to be a steady stream of billionaires. But that's not going to happen, because if you're just going to tax them out of existence, then what's the point? Um, so again, that's just another rank contradiction. And like I say, I wanted to make a video about this because this is something that common you hear on the left. Now, like I say, this is when I always mention that the left, a lot of their beliefs and a lot of what they accuse the right of, it's just them projecting. And this is another classic example that they claim that these quote unquote rich people, which if you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, he wants to raise taxes on anyone making more than $29,000 a year, which is pretty much everybody working, unless you work a part-time job or a minimum wage job. Minimum wage and it may even be more than that in some states, but again, I'm not sure exactly what that would work out to be. Minimum wage in Canada, I believe, is around there, but that's depending on, at least in Alberta. But again, I'm not going to do the math off the top of my head. I know it's roughly around there, but like I say, how, like, that's raising taxes on pretty much everyone, so it makes no sense. And like I say, Bernie Sanders, getting back to it, he wants to raise taxes on anyone making more than $29,000 a year. So it's not just he's just going to tax the rich more. No, it's he's taxing everyone more, and that's the only way that he'd even have a hope of paying for what he wants to be able to pay for. And he's not going to be able to do it anyway, but at least he may be able to do it off the start. Um, but getting back to that, the left, they always say, oh, the rich are so greedy. The rich don't want to pay more taxes. The rich are greedy, 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 greedy. But yet they'll never actually tell you the numbers. They'll never say that, hey, or someone making $1 million a year has, I think in a lot of these, especially the Californias of the world, I would say it's very a conservative estimate that half the money they make is taxed in one form or another. They'll never make the argument that, hey, that guy making $1 million a year puts $500,000 into the system. I make 50K a year. I put maybe $10,000 a year into the system. This guy's putting, 50, 100 times more money into the system than I am, but yet that's still not enough. That, like, they never make that argument, because if you made that argument, if you said, hey, that guy's putting $500,000 a year, into the system, me working my minimum wage job, or you're making 30, 40 grand a year, I'm paying maybe what, $5,000 in taxes, 10 at the most, maybe, depending on what state you're in. That guy's putting, $490,000 a year or more into the system than I'm putting in, but yet that's still not a fair share. How does that make any sense whatsoever? Like, whatsoever. Again, the real reason that the left is wants to tax the rich, and why they accuse them of being greedy, is that they're greedy. And that's the thing too, is that people that don't really know what they're talking about, they generally accuse other people of the same kind of things, which is why the left is generally more insecure people